Now, Sports Talk with Broads. Here's Hunter Brody.
Dave Dombrowski is the greatest human being to walk Earth. There's going to be just so many damn movies of this man and what he's capable of doing. Just like we speak about Jesus, just like we look at the Bible, we will be talking that way about one Dave Dombrowski and the beautiness that he does on a day-to-day basis down at winter meetings. So, we all saw it happen yesterday. You see the big news, the alerts pop through your phone that Taijuan Walker is now a Philadelphia Philly, 4 years, $72 million, and it looks like 18 AAV, which is what today's market is for a fourth starter. Is it a little bit? Is it a little long? Maybe just a tiny smidge, but Taijuan got something very similar. Once again, we are just in a different era where guys are getting the bag and guys are getting fat paychecks and players are getting signed until they're 40-something years old. Not specifically Walker, but I'm just saying in general here, everyone's like, oh, I can't believe this team is tied to X, Y, and Z for 40 until they're 40 years old. I can't believe this team is tied to X, Y, and Z until they're 40. Everybody is, because that's how you have to acquire your talent, and that's how you have to acquire your stars. And I'm seeing somebody step into a starting pitching role, a good number 4 who's got a very high ceiling, a nasty splitter. And the problem is, when you go back to last year, and you look at the way that this team was set up. Now, I mentioned the stars and the big paychecks. That's not Taijuan Walker, but he's got a good role and a very good ceiling for what we need him to do. And I bring up that fourth starter last season in the playoffs because when you're fighting for your World Series lives and you're bringing up Noah Syndergaard just throughout the postseason, that was one of your best options outside of Aaron Nola, Zach Wheeler, and Ranger Suarez. But you asked him to please get through the starting the order one time. Please get through their starting lineup one time, please, and then maybe, just maybe, we can ask for one more inning and hope he doesn't give away the lead. Now you actually have a real option. It does come with some concerns. Specifically, his first half is way better than his second halves, and if you look through his track record, in 2020, he had the shortened season, just like everybody else, but he had Tommy John surgery, so he was battling through that, a little bit above 50 innings. I thought it was important for him to throw that, but it's hard to really judge considering it's not a full season of work, and through 50-something innings or so, it doesn't tell the full story compared to what he did the last 2 seasons, which is 8 innings. 59 innings pitched and 157 and a third innings pitched. That's extremely important. When you think about the battle and the grind of the regular season, extremely important, especially knowing Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola are fatigued. At the back end of the season, they were beat. Think about how many days Zach Wheeler needed off before we could get some version of Zach Wheeler that could help them win. So it means a ton. You go to that 2021 season, though. First half, a 2.66 ERA, and the second half, a 7.13 ERA. He did have a right knee procedure on January 14th after the season completed, so maybe there was a correlation with some sort of knee injury and why it was so different in the second half. And then you look at 2022, his most recent season with the Nets. In the first half, he had a 2.55 ERA. In the second half, a 4.80. Now, 4.80 is completely different from a 7.13. So while it's still definitely different in the second half, it's nowhere even as pitiful as it was in 2021. And with this offensive lineup and with the ability that these guys can rake big time, you can win some baseball games with your fourth starter maybe giving you a 4.8 ERA at times in the second half to a degree. I'm not saying it's something that's built for success, but I'm just saying if you do have a team that can score a lot of runs, a team that can mash, a team adding Trea Turner, who should be hitting second. Just saying. Just throwing that out there. And trust me, I think we're going to get a lot of phone calls today over what we just saw the last couple of days, and I'm sure that's going to pop up at some point. I think it was a good move. I think it was a strong move. You have multiple holes you have to fill if you're Dave Dombrowski looking at this offseason plan. They attacked all of them within seconds of winter meetings. You got yourself the middle infielder, you got yourself a starter, and now you can look at what you're going to do in the 5. Rob Thompson mentioned that there's a good possibility when you look at some of the young kids that Andrew Painter could make it on opening day, which would be magnificent. It would be fun. I'm sure he wouldn't be throwing a heavy monster of innings, but that's when Bailey Falter comes into play. That's when Christopher Sanchez comes into play. They can help eat some of those innings too. But you did that. And then, of course, you picked up some bullpen help in Strahm. Strahm's a bit of a wild card. I'm not telling you this is a slam dunk, but I know you had to fill the hole of losing Brad Hand. You lose Brad Hand, you need a lefty. You get a lefty. Bullpen pieces are weird. You could pick up a guy with a fantastic history like David Robertson. He comes here and he falls apart. He gets injured. He's beat up. He doesn't look the same. We eventually saw David Robertson Part 2, which was better. Still had some uglier moments and whatnot, but still had some very, very strong ones too. Way different presence. But we brought in David Robertson and thought that that was a no miss. It was a miss. You just don't know. Left-handed, can maybe use some oomph and bring some heat. We'll see how it goes. It needed a body, though. You needed someone. I don't know. I'm not going to pretend just because it's a guy, it's automatically awesome. Knable got injured. Familia is another name that was a bit of a mess. I'm not telling you he's great, he's bad, he's awful. I know they needed this. They needed a left-handed reliever. They got one. Had some ups and downs throughout his career. Welcome to a bullpen piece. Welcome to being a reliever in Major League Baseball. I'm excited to see what he becomes, though. I'm excited to see if there's something there. You're comfortable with Jose Alvarado. You're comfortable with Sir Anthony Dominguez. You know what's going to be happening towards that back end. So now it's filling in more of 6th inning, 7th inning, those level of guys. Can't wait to see what Dave does next for that. We were kind of throwing it around the best show ever today. Can Bailey Falter be a Ranger Suarez guy? And what I mean by that is you kind of throw around relief action for him, starting action for him. The guy seems to always want the ball. It doesn't matter where he's at. I just want to pitch. But would that be hurting him if you need him for a starter to help kind of the Andrew Painter role, and if you just want to get some guys some extra days, push them back? Because I'm going to be honest, I do have a bit of a fear of what's happening with Nola and Wheeler just based off of them really going through a lot, wear and tear on their body. Zach Wheeler, back-to-back seasons with a big workload. Nola, this is the first time he experienced something like this. I would hope that he learns from it and goes back out next postseason and dials up some beauty and dials up some great performances. But it's hard to know what your body is going to do and how it's going to react until you get a playoff experience to experience it. So now that he has, do they change the way they play the regular season? Instead of pushing guys an extra inning or two, you get yanked in the 5th, or maybe in the 6th after you complete 5. No reason to go to the 7 because your offense is exploding. You're scoring a ton of runs. Let's just call it a night for Aaron Nola in the middle of June, in the middle of July. And if you do that over multiple starts, well, then it plays the long game of it. Just some things to throw around. That's all. All right. I promised you I'll be reacting to a lot of your phone calls. And that's what we'll do today. So let's do it.
Holy shit. Trea fucking Turner, baby. I mean, what can you say? You can't say enough about Dombrowski and the absolute balls he has to get deals done and bring guys in go over the luxury tax because he wants to win. And I know it's only been a month or two since the run, but I can't wait for the 2023 season.
I can't either. Your Eagles are 11-1, and yet here we are talking about the lineup over the last 48 hours, and we're talking about Dave. And you have to give credit to John Middleton for opening up that paycheck too, and to, open up that checkbook and pay the money to the players, because without that and the willingness, but you don't hire a Dave Dombrowski if you think it's going to be anything different. You know exactly what you're signing up for the day Dave Dombrowski walks through your complex. But the best part about this is there was a lot that had to be cleaned up. And Dave Dombrowski is finding a phenomenal balance of building this team right now at the professional level, at the top, while still looking at Preston Mattingly and looking at AAA, AA, bringing in some prospects, just the way these guys are progressing. How many players this season, and even Alec Boehm at the end of last season, went down and came back a different player? That was never the case here in this franchise. They would suck, and they would never be able to pull their head out of their ass and be a nice player. They would just blow. They didn't have it in them, or they weren't being taught the right way. So not only are you competing at the majors for the World Series, and you're making serious playoff run, you also have the ability to restructure your entire franchise, which takes a long period of time to do. So if you can keep everybody involved and everybody engaged for years to come with some of these long-term contracts while replenishing the system, because Matt Klentak left it in a disaster, that's a huge move. And then guys like Stott, you don't have to worry about him being forced to lead off. Think about this. They were playing in the World Series and playing in the NLCS, and people wanted him to lead off because they didn't like Kyle Schwarber. I get that that's stupidity, but think about if that was what he did lead off at some points this season, and I think at some point maybe in his career he can blossom into some level of a guy who sees a ton of pitches up at the top. But Kyle Schwarber sure does. Rhys Hoskins sure does. They don't just make that up. It's not just them hitting the long ball as part of the reasons why they bat as high as they do. They see a lot of pitches. They talk to their teammates. They're educated guys at the dish, where it's like, yo, Bryce, I saw this as a left-handed batter. It's extremely valuable stuff. For Bryson Stott, the way Dave Dombrowski set this up, he could play around that 8th spot in the lineup, 7th lineup spot. Same with Brandon Marsh. There's no pressure. So these kids that are getting brought up here, there's really not as much pressure. Boehm could be batting 7th. Maybe that can allow him to get some of the power in his bat, where he can drive the baseball. But that's what Dave Dombrowski does. That's what he changes when he walks into the city and becomes the head of your baseball franchise. He's one of the smartest people I've seen at the top of the helm of a franchise. And that's saying a lot, because we got Howie Roseman. And Howie Roseman, if they win a Super Bowl this year, they win in 2017, so 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. If I did that math right, I guess 6 years. He could win 2 Super Bowls in 6 years. Right? 17, 18, 18, 19, 20. No, let me do that one more time. 17, 18, 18, 19, 19, 20, 20, 21, 21, 22. And then 22, 23 would be this year? Yeah, right? So 2 Super Bowls in 6 years. But Dave just gets it. Dave just gets it. Let's take another one.
Bro, this is the news I wanted to hear right before I'm about to go to work tonight. Trea Turner is now a Philadelphia Philly. Look, man, I'm stoked because we got an elite shortstop. We can just move Bryson Stott to second. Trea Turner is obviously an elite shortstop, but the 11-year deal is what concerns me. Now, he's worth being paid $300 million, in my opinion. But the last 3, 4, 5 years, man, those may come back to bite us. But that's a conversation to be had another time. I'm stoked to hear about this. In Dombrowski, we trust.
I don't get the fear. I'm going to be honest with you. If every team is doing this to the best players, at some point the entire league is going to be filled with 38-year-olds and 39-year-olds while you have and implement some of the younger talent throughout and some of your other free agent signings that are maybe more of the 4-year style of guys. But if everyone's doing this, look, I'm not telling you that everyone's going to pan out late in their 30s, but there's also a difference in the era of athletes that we're in today with the way that they prepare their bodies, the way that they eat the right way, the way that they train, rehab, all sorts of procedures that have to be done. There's so many details that change what a 37 or 38-year-old guy could be and how they can play. They won't be rock solid superstars throughout their entire career, but I think we need to pump the brakes here. Today, as they sit here with one of the most lethal lineups in baseball, let's run through what I would do right now. Kyle Schwarber, Trea Turner, Bryce Harper, JT Realmuto, Rhys Hoskins, Nick Castellanos, Alec Bohm, Bryson Stott, Brandon Marsh, and you could mix up some of those towards the end because I know that got pretty heavy in the righty department. Why am I worried about when Trea Turner's 37? Think about this. Whatever age you are right now, 7 years from now, think about where you were 7 years ago. Seriously, right now, think about this. Whatever you're doing in life, close your eyes and think about 7 years ago. I was 20. I couldn't even booze legally yet. I was living in Vermont playing junior hockey, and I didn't even take one college class yet. Now, I'm married. I got a mortgage, 2 dogs, car payments, phone bills, Wi-Fi, cable. Jeez. If you don't know, way too expensive, Xfinity. My life is insanely different. I'll worry about that stuff. If Dave Dombrowski or somebody who's smart, because it's not as if Dave's the only smart baseball mind. There's a lot of them. You just got to make sure you have them instead of Matt Klentak. If that's who's pushing the buttons, someone who has brain power, they'll find a way. You're not glued to these guys forever. You can do certain things. And if you draft well and call up well and also have them develop, you're filtering in youth and studs. Mick Abel, Andrew Painter, they might be at the top of your starting rotation at that point with the veteran presence of some everyday guys. I know Adam Wainwright is a pitcher, but Adam Wainwright for the Cardinals was a big piece to what they were doing. Justin Verlander, different from everyday guys to guys who pitch. But still, I mean, Verlander's how old? Coming off of Tommy John winning a Cy Young? Guys can play deeper into their careers. Even if Trea Turner, who's consistently over 300, becomes more of a 250 hitter, 260 hitter, 250. You know what you could do with that? Still works. All right, here we go.
I really like this move. Trea Turner was one of the catalysts for that 111 win Dodger team. He was behind Mookie Betts in the 2-hole. I don't know, maybe you put him in the 2-hole after Schwarber, but you got to think, Trea Turner's not about to go to a bad team. I feel like that this the previous World Series run for the Phillies, maybe he looks at the Phillies and he says, that's a team I can go win a championship with.
Oh, he definitely thinks that. That's the power of signing Bryce Harper and then stars following him. And I didn't like the way that he handled his business with JT Realmuto and making sure that the ownership definitely signed him. And I had my concerns, but I'll be honest too. I was shocked that he was able to carry you as far as he did when he was tearing up the league. And I forget if it was the National League or the entire league, but when he was crushing it with OBP and he was a star and guys went down, but here he was still there for him. It was amazing. I didn't expect that level for as long as he was able to do it. The sustained success from JT Realmuto, it blew my mind, and I was very thrilled, and it was incredible. But I didn't know he could do that. I'll eat those words. I'm glad Bryce Harper was able to do that, and he got the front office to pay. Now you go after Trea Turner. He played a massive role there. And yeah, of course he came here to win. He looked at this as a winning possibility. Then you start seeing the rumors, though, of San Diego. And even with this Aaron Judge stuff, San Francisco and then San Diego. I don't know. I'm starting to feel that there's some weird leakage publicly going on with San Diego. I know how taxes work, and it's more money, but more taxes, and this and that. But ultimately, as soon as all the big names that have come off the board have signed, San Diego wasn't play. San Diego wasn't play. There's a lot to be said about certain ownership and certain people wanting the knowledge out there that there was some action involved. Guys like Scott Boras want people to know that money's being thrown around. So then guys like Carlos Correa, who's still on the market, who, you know, last year didn't get what he was looking for, so he signed that weird deal with Minnesota with the one-year opt-outs. And trust me, there's a billion reasons why John Heyman tweets out San Francisco, and then that sparks a big buzz, and he was completely wrong. But guys like Scott Boras, even though Aaron Judge isn't a Scott Boras client, think about how that impacts everybody else and all the money and what this guy's worth and the market being set. And it's a crazy, crazy world. I don't know, the exact motive behind San Diego, but to tie it back to Dave Dombrowski, no games being played. Nope. I'm here to handle business. I'm in San Diego to get the job done. Rob Thompson is canceling plans because he had to get down to San Diego to winter meetings, and they got to accomplish their goal. Like, they had killer eyes, and they were focused. So we don't have to worry about the Bush League leaked stories and Boston Red Sox fans being upset because apparently Bloom is always just calling guys but never actually sealing the deal. And they're always involved with air quotes, but they're just doing that to satisfy the fan base. That's not how it works with Dave. I love it. I just absolutely love it. Let's keep rolling through. Here we go.
Hey, bros, congratulations. Wow, what a sign. This is the upstate New York guy who's in the process of divorcing them lousy Mets. Oh, boy, wow, I'm so happy for my new favorite team, the Phillies. What a sign. You guys are big time. You're beating the Mets this year. Wow, I hope it works out with Harper and you get everything flowing. I'd love to see the Phillies win one. The Mets signing a 40-year-old guy. Yeah, he'll do good during the year, but he'll tire out just like they did in the playoffs when the Phillies will spring up like young little chickens and whack the ball all over the place.
I'm a little lost. Was that a Mets fan trolling us? Was that someone from New York who was a Mets fan but is so much in pain that he started to like the Phillies? I don't know. I don't even know where to go from there at all. But he brought up the Mets, and I think that maybe this is a good way to spin it. I'm a little confused, or maybe nervous is a better word to describe it. I'm nervous that when the season starts being played and we're watching them compete, because they made it to the World Series as the third wild card spot, is there going to be the right mindset from the fan base? Now, hear me out. I expect them to win the division, beat the Braves, win a series against the Mets. Please, win a damn series against your hated rival and win the division. What did I touch on earlier? Aaron Nola and the fatigue. Zach Wheeler and the fatigue. What happens if you win the division? There's a difference in how many series you play. Not playing a wild card series. And I don't want to hear it that certain teams lost because of the break that they had while the other team continued to play baseball. Really? Because the Astros didn't have a problem with that? Really? Because the Astros constantly get to the ALCS and make 4 of 6 World Series and now is a big-time dynasty and they know they're going to get back. They make a big signing in Jose Abreu. They keep adding. They did lose Verlander, but still, trust me, I'll go down saying that the Houston Astros have something rolling within their system, without a doubt. I demand them to win the division. And I just feel that there's going to be some fans that look at the NL East, and if there's some games back, 6 games back or so, they go, who really cares? And it won't really be as if that matters to many because of how they did it last year. And I'm not taking away any credit from what happened in St. Louis, but St. Louis really pissed on their own foot there and allowed some ground balls to go through the infield, and they collapsed, and then that sparked this amazing journey that I won't forget, even though deep down I'm still heartbroken that it didn't secure the deal. Adding a Trea Turner, bringing in a fourth starting pitcher is the difference in getting there again and kind of keeping your foot on the gas. But it's just so hard. And that's why everything matters. Bryce Harper not being prepared to get the surgery as soon as the season ends. So they miss 18 days before the surgery happens, or waits 18 days. And remember when they ended the season last year with so many road games? It's a long time. You ask those players, what would they tell you? It was a long, long time. Ricky Bo brought up today that was about 18 days. I don't know off the top of my head exactly how many days it was, but I know it was a lot, and it was around that range. Well, if you're going to tell me as a baseball player it's a long time to be away from your family and you got a lot of road games and you're not at Citizens Bank Park, it felt like an eternity. It felt like a long time. If it was in that 18-day range, well, then Bryce Harper not getting his surgery and waiting 18 days is a long time. I'm just saying. I had to do it.
All right, so here's Dave Dombrowski coming into the winter meetings. Shortstop, check. Starting pitcher, check. Reliever, check. I mean, he's checking off all the boxes. Taijuan Walker, again, you know, I can't argue with it. I'm not a person that focuses on money. Whatever John Middleton decides to pay is what he pays. I just look at the player himself and how he fits in. And I think Walker fits in the, third or fourth starter, probably a fourth starter role, which is what the Phillies were looking for, a mid-level guy. As far as Strahm, the reliever, goes, don't know much about him, but he sounds like a Brad Hand clone. You know, not going to wow you with 99-mile-an-hour fastballs, but I think as a matchup left-handed reliever, that's probably what they're looking for. Again, Dombrowski came to the meetings with an agenda, and I think he filled it.
Oh, he definitely did. Now, I thought, and I'll look this up right now, but I thought that Strahm had a little bit more than Brad Hand in him. I'll go to his baseball savant, though, and look at what he's throwing. But I thought he had a little more juice to it than what Brad Hand did. Brad Hand did not have much with the juice. Where are we at here? Where are we at? You got your four-seamer, the slider, curveball, sinker, changeup. Why am I not getting the miles per hour? 94 miles per hour on the four-seamer. 94 on the sinker. All right, let's go to Brad Hand. I guess knowing what he throws, I guess maybe I just type like an old man. The finger on the keyboard. I never normally do that. I just got the way my desk is set up right now. I look like a doofus doing it, I bet. So for him and his four-seamer, if my computer would move a little bit faster, he threw it at, where are we at here? Sorry, I apologize. I probably could have done a better job. 92.5. 92.5. And Strahm was 94. So, a little bit more. I thought it was a little bit more than that. It's hitting 94.2. All right, just saying. All right, I lost my train of thought because I didn't expect to go in a little bit of a run there with looking up statistics. Those are my thoughts right now on Taijuan Walker and with Strahm and with Trea Turner. I love the fact that we're sitting here and we're discussing this baseball team, though. There's nothing more I love. And I thought I had fun the last couple of seasons with breaking down the Phils on Broads Media and having a great old time discussing them day to day. Yet when they provide this type of talent, We had Tom McCarthy on the Best Show Ever, and we were talking to him about the move and the deal and just what it means for this club. And we just asked him off the rip, like, what's it like for you? You sit here and you watch Bryce Harper. You sit here and you watch Schwarber. You watch JT Realmuto. You watch these stars, and you bring in a Trea Turner. What is that like for you? And it's just awesome to hear kind of that personal experience of getting to call these games and call these teams. And you just add and add and add. You got a guy who was upset with his .298 batting average. Thought that wasn't good enough for me. I need to do better. .298. It's wild. It's wild. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I love you. You're the greatest. We're going to wrap things up here. Thank you. Oh, by the way, Kyle Schwarber hitting leadoff, that's what should happen. With the shift being gone, too. How much would that help the left-handed hitter? Yeah. How about that? How about that? Catch you guys on the next one.